If you are a multifaceted creative who has been struggling to get your stuff done, get your stuff out, and stay consistent with building a routine so that you can show up to the page or show up to your medium every single day, this is for you. I am a multifaceted creative. I love writing. I love talking and building systems. My background is in engineering, so I just like to build stuff. And then I also am a musician, so that entails everything from songwriting to playing music, playing instruments, singing, producing music, the whole lot. I love all of that stuff, and I have found myself in a place where I have had all these ideas and visions over the past year and a half, and I feel so stuck and stagnant sometimes because I'm not really sure what to do. I don't know what the next step is for each of my projects that I want to work on and I find myself like not getting stuff done a lot of the times, and I got sick of it. I told myself, I'm tired of this. I am going to reach my full potential. I'm going to create all the things that I've wanted to create and say the things that I want to say. And that means I have to get my shit together. That means I have to create systems in my life that support those goals that I have, because that's really the only way that you can do so. If you feel like the systems in your life or the lack of systems in your life, the distractions around you are keeping you from reaching your full potential, are keeping you from creating goals, reaching your goals, or moving on and knowing what goal next to take, this video is exactly for you. So you may or may not have heard of the book The 12-Week Year. It's a business book. It's intended for corporate executives and people in corporations to take their typical year-long goals and condense that into a span of 3 months so that you can look at the shorter-term goals and focus on what you can do day to day to actually work towards moving the levers of those actions. And what I've done is I've taken this book that has more of a business and corporate lens on it, and I've spun it into a resource for creatives so that we can use some of the frameworks and structures in this book to structure our own work days or our own creative days to reach our creative goals, to feel like we're actually moving the lever, to feel like we're finishing projects that we start and putting them out there so people can see them, and finishing them so we can move on to the next thing. Because each project in your creative journey is a step that you're taking, and if you don't finish the first step, you're not going to be able to get to the second, to the third, to the fourth, etc. Like, this is kind of each piece of art that you make, each piece of writing that you put out, each song that you put out, whatever it is that is your medium, it's kind of like a picture, quick time frame of where you are in this exact point in your creative journey. And if you want to grow as a creative or as an individual, as a person, you have to continue taking steps. If you've ever read Steven Pressfield's The War of Art, you know that he says there are 2 lives that you live. There is one life that you're currently living and one life that you're capable of living. So if you want to reach the one that you're capable of living, if you want to close that gap and be the best artist or creative that you can and get the message that you're trying to speak out, the vision, to as many people that are aligned with it as possible, this is a tool that you can use to help you get there. The reason that the time frame is specifically 12 weeks, 3 months, and not anything else is because you will rise to the goals that you set. If you think you can clean your house in 6 hours, you're going to get that done in 6 hours. If you think you can do it in 8 hours, it's going to take 8 hours. If you think you can do it in 2 hours, it's going to take 2 hours. And by setting these actual goals, it allows you to have a vision to rise to. If you look at goals in terms of a year, a lot of the times you can get lost in that year. It can be 1 month, and you can say, I have 11 more months until I have to do this, so I can procrastinate it. But by having a shorter term 3-month time frame, you're kind of forced to take every single day as a day that if you throw that away, it's meaningful. It's the perfect amount of time to allow you to not feel rushed, to allow you to be present in your goals, to be present for your activities day to day without feeling rushed, but still feel that pressure that you need to actually get the things done that you want to get done. With this model, every week counts and every day counts. And so you start to see your life as something that is valuable, that is precious, that you don't want to throw away. As I've adopted this method of thinking, I've been just able, like, personally to really figure out who I am, because I have to make tough decisions. I have to make decisions that dictate what my priorities are, and I have to be forced to, like, see what my priorities are and choose and decide. Because if I look at everything at a longer time frame, I have a million options, and it doesn't really force me to commit to anything. And sometimes commitment is what you need. It forces you to look at the things that are really important to you. Think about the 80-20 rule. Even in your actions, they say that 20% of your actions make up 80% of the results. It's the Pareto principle, I believe. It can be used in a lot of things. It's used in, like, lean manufacturing. It's used in psychology. It's used in so much. But if you don't have to, if you're not forced to look at what's actually important to you, you don't really know which levers to pull that are the most important or influential, and you're going to allow perfectionism to get in the way of you actually making a difference in the world. Think about the essays you wrote in school. It was like you had 2 weeks to finish a paper and you wouldn't get it done until the last day, right? But somehow magically the last day you start writing and just all the ideas come to you because you feel forced to do it. Now this is not a school project, so it actually matters, right? Like, you care about the things that you're doing. You should want to wake up every day and feel excited for what you're doing. And if you're procrastinating the things you love, what are you doing? Like, come on, there's better ways to spend your life. Setting up these systems in your life will allow you to face discomfort. You, as an artist, probably know how important it is to embrace the discomfort in life, to venture into your shadows, to the unknown, because that's where things are created. And so setting systems in your life that force you to face discomfort, get the tasks done that you need to get done, that if you weren't forced to get done, you might just comply to whatever feels comfortable in the moment. Doing those harder things is what's going to get you towards your goals. So creating systems to kind of force you to do that is exactly what you need to get you through those. It's figuring out what's more important than your comfort. And how you figure out what's more important is by understanding your vision. If you have a vision that's greater than you, then you will be willing to face discomfort to bring that vision into fruition. And as an artist, your vision is everything. Your job as an artist is to have a vision that you feel so strongly about that you put barriers up in your life to protect that vision and bring it into the world. It's to know yourself so well that you know that vision. Think about anybody that creates. If you have a vision, you let somebody else sway that vision, you're not gonna be able to put it out into the world. And that emotional connection to your vision is what's gonna get you through. It's what's gonna keep you going when things are hard, because you can't just sheer willpower force yourself through difficult tasks if you don't have an emotional connection to your vision and what you're doing, and the realization that each of those difficult tasks is going to help you bring your vision into this world. So the whole point of this activity is to help you realize your goals, the goals that are attached to your vision. Because if you don't know where you're going, you're going to end someplace else. You're going to end up in a place you don't know where. And sometimes that's nice. Sometimes you need to do that. But right now, you want to get stuff done. And if you want to get stuff done, you have that clear vision, you've got to create structure around that vision to bring it into fruition. So, when you set your goals surrounded with that vision, the next thing that you need to do is break those goals up into actionable steps that you can take each day. Doing this will help you focus on the activities that will move you towards your goal. And focus is really important. If you can choose the activities that you're doing before you get into that flow state, it'll help you feel even more confident in moving towards your goals, because you get to live in that creative mindset, which I know is what you want to do as an artist, right? Like, you want to do your craft as much as possible. And this structure will help you be able to be present as much as possible and work on your craft as much as possible while still working towards your goals. So in setting these goals, it kind of holds a mirror up to you. Like, you're forced to face the truth with what you're actually doing day to day. You're forced to face the question of if you actually want your goals, because if you actually wanted your goals, you would be working towards them, right? And in doing so, I know this is a hard part, but measurement is important. Having kind of metrics that you can look at to let you know if the work that you're doing is actually helping you move towards your goals or not is incredibly important. The sooner that you can confront reality, the sooner you can actually make changes in your process to help you reach your goals. Keeping these measures will also help you know if there's something that you might need to change about your goal, or if there's something that you need to change about your plan that will help you closer get towards your goals. So in economics, there is this concept of leading indicators and lagging indicators. Leading indicators are activities that help produce the results. So say you have a goal of losing 10 pounds. A leading indicator would be you doing 20 minutes of cardio every day. If you're showing up to that activity, it's either a yes or no, and you start counting how many of those days, a month, or a week you show up to the activity, the leading indicator that'll help you reach your goal. That's what a leading indicator is. It's the activity. A lagging indicator is a metric that tells you after the fact if your leading indicator is working or not. So for example, if your goal is to reach 10 pounds and you show up every day doing 20 minutes of cardio, your lagging indicator for that would be how much weight you're losing. So creating a measurement system with both of these indicators is how you will know if what you are doing, the leading indicators, are producing the results you want, the lagging indicators. And then finally, there is the concept of setting boundaries. If you want to reach goals and you create a plan, you're going to have to protect that plan. You're going to have to say no sometimes to things that aren't aligned with that plan. And a lot of the times a no is a not right now. You don't have to be an asshole about it. You don't have to, miss out on all the fun in your life, but you do have to protect your plan a little bit. So having those goals and knowing what's aligned with those goals will help you say yes and no to things, but you're going to have to be intentional with every action that you do day to day. And what that means is sometimes you're going to have to block time in your days, even if it's just a few hours, to be able to focus on the actions that you need to take to reach you towards that goal. And in doing so, you can also set blocks to work on buffer activities like checking your email or fixing your website, or kind of like the business aspect of your project. So for me, that would be posting and editing videos. That would be setting up my websites. That would be writing. So with all that being said, let's jump into this, because I think you'll start to see what I'm talking about a little bit more. I made this document that is specifically tailored for creatives. I cut the business bullshit out of all this. I don't want to think about that anymore. So there are 3 principles that you're going to have to focus on in this time period, and that is accountability. Like, if you set goals, you have to be accountable for it. Sorry, but that's the only way. And if you can't be accountable for yourself, tell other people, have an accountability buddy, tell a friend, have somebody do this with you so that they can reach their goals and you guys can keep each other accountable. If you're not honest with yourself, if you're not honest with the people around you, you're not going to be able to get this done. You're also going to have to set commitments. Like, you're going to have to make a decision and stick to it. And the thing is, it's only for 12 weeks. So if you make a decision to commit and you realize you don't like it, you can always next cycle not do that. But the only way that you're going to learn is by committing. And I actually made a video about this before called Commitment is Temporary, but you have to commit for a certain period of time. But don't worry, you're not getting married to it. Think of it like dating. You guys can break up if you want. You can go your separate ways, but to know if it's right for you or not, you're going to have to like commit for the 12 weeks. There's a difference between interest and commitment. Think about if you're dating. It's you know, you think someone's cute, but you don't know them. And you're not going to get to know them unless you commit to getting to know them. Even if it's just on one date, you've got to commit to that date. Being flaky is not going to get you anywhere. Sorry. And then there's the principle of greatness in the moment. So this is just being present. This is being able to allow yourself to get into flow state. It's sitting down in front of your work and just doing it for that time that you promise yourself you would do it. Be present. Be as great as possible. Do the best job that you can. I think you know this. This is the part that's easy for artists. I think it's a little bit harder for people in business. And then there are 5 disciplines to this practice. So it's kind of like the foundational principles, but this is applied specifically to the actions that you're taking. So you're going to have to set a vision. What that means is that you're going to have to create a clear picture for your future. You're going to have to write it down, be super specific. You're going to have to plan, so you're going to have to break your vision down into specific actions that you have to take and take them. You're going to have to work on process control, which is kind of a more granular step of planning. That's your day-to-day. What tools do you need? What events do you need to partake in that align with your vision? The specific things that you need to do and the things that you use to get those done, that's the process control. There's measurement, so it's your anchor to reality. It's the metrics that you're setting, the leading and lagging indicators. It's the feedback that you get. And then there's time use. So if you're not in control of your time, you're not in control of your results. So are you setting boundaries? Are you scrolling while you said you were going to have a deep work session? Are you doing things that don't align with your goal? Or are you using your time effectively? These 5 disciplines are all very connected with each other, and they all need to work together in order for this to work. So as you go through this process, there's going to be an emotional journey that you face. And I just want you to be aware of it, because this will help you get through the tough times. So usually when you start a project or you start learning something new, you have this uninformed optimism. It's like when they say delulu till it's true. Yeah, like you can do it. You have this vision in your head. Like you can do it. You're super optimistic. You're like, yeah, but then when you start working towards it, you get a little bit more information about what you need to do, and you're like, shit, this is harder than I thought. And you get pessimistic. And then you can fall into this valley of despair. You can say, I don't know if I can do this. And a lot of times, this is what Steven Pressfield calls the dip. It's when things get hard. Do you quit or not? If this is aligned with your vision, you don't quit. But sometimes you do quit. Sometimes you say, this really isn't for me. That's where commitment comes in. If you actually want to reach the end of this cycle, you have to commit. And that will get you through into the informed optimism. And you're like, okay, I can kind of see what actions I need to take to further myself, to get to success and fulfillment. And that's when you start trusting the process. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about, so here's an analogy that I use because I am a martial artist. I used to do Taekwondo, and within the past year I started doing jiu-jitsu. And you go through a very pretty much the same process in jiu-jitsu. It's really with any skill acquisition. You start with the uninformed optimism. This is really fucking cool. I love it. Like, I can be a black belt. I'm going to beat everybody's ass. And you start showing up to training and you get your ass handed to you. You get choked out. You get people just sitting on you. Like, you just get beat up. And you're like, fuck, this is hard. And then you talk to more people and you realize, like, yeah, it takes like 7 years to be a black belt. That feels so far away. And then you get pessimistic. And then you get in this valley of despair where you just keep losing, right? Like, you get beat up, you get your ass handed to you, maybe you get injured. I don't know. I didn't, but like, I started thinking about quitting or going to a martial art, going back to Taekwondo because it's something that I was comfortable with. That's the most difficult time. But if you can minimize that valley of despair and get to the informed optimism, that will help you reach your success. So then I started just going, and I was like, okay, I'm going to accept the fact that I'm going to get my ass handed to me. I'm going to get tossed around. I'm going to look like an idiot. I'm going to embarrass myself, but I'm still going to show up because I know that I set this goal for myself. I'm staying accountable and I'm going to keep working towards it. I don't care. This is what I want. It's for the best of me. You know, the sport is something that makes me feel good about myself. I walk around feeling strong as ever. I don't worry about walking by myself because I know that I can get out of a situation using self-defense or, you know. Anyway, so you start feeling informed optimism. That's when you start like really carving out your process and you're like, okay, you know, I set the schedule where I'm training 4 times a week and I feel really good about the things that I'm learning and things are starting to click. And I know I'm not there yet, but I know what I need to do to get there now because I have the experience. I have the system set in place to help me get there. And all I need to do is just keep going and keep showing up. And that's when you eventually get to your success and fulfillment. So that's kind of the process to be aware of it as you're going through achieving your goals, is that there's going to be a dip. And it's really, if you want to get to the other side of the dip, it's about how you get through that. And going off of that, this is kind of the mindset that shifts, where this is the informed pessimism. It feels impossible that you'll get to the goal that you set. And then you say, what if I did this, this, and that? And eventually you start to kind of see how you have these solutions to the questions that felt once impossible to answer. And you're like, okay, yeah, you know what? I see that other people are achieving the goals that I set out to achieve, so this is starting to feel a little bit more possible. If this person did it, I can do it too. And you see evidence of the possibility of your goals, and this is where, you know, it starts to feel a little bit more informed. And as you go throughout your process, you start, how do I do this? How do I set up systems in my life to get me there? And then the more you set up those systems, the more it starts to feel probable. You say, okay, now that I'm, you know, training 4 times a week, I see that if I keep showing up, it's inevitable that I'm going to get better. It might not happen as quick as I wanted it to, but I don't care. I know it's probable. I know that if I keep down this path, I'm going to get there. And then eventually you get to a point where it's just like, yeah, you know what? I'm already on this path. I have the momentum, and all I have to do is keep going, and I'm going to get there. It's given. So this is kind of the mental journey that you're going to have to go through, and being aware of it will help you get through it so much easier. It's kind of like a muscle learn, just like learning a new language. It's like at first, you know, you learn and you're like, my tongue doesn't move this way. Like, I don't know how to pronounce this and that. Nobody understands me. And then you start to have experiences where maybe you're like starting to string words together, and, you know, you go on a trip or you speak with a native speaker, and, you know, it's like, you're cute, but, you know, you're not great, but I can understand you. And then you start to, you know, actually have conversations, and maybe you're not fluent, but the conversations are flowing and people are starting to understand you, and then you have already built the confidence that you need and the systems and environment around you to make it a given that you're going to get to that level of fluency that you want to get to. So, right here in between probable and given is where your system is really going to just, set into cruise control and take you to where you want to go. And this is where the 12-week year plays a part. It's a system that it gets you from the impossible mindset to the given mindset. So, this is where we start actually putting in the work. That's where you start writing and crafting your own vision and start bringing it into fruition. And how you do this is you break it into 3 steps. So you have your aspirational vision, and that's going to be your long-term, like, this is what I want to do before I die, this is how I want to feel vision. And then you're going to have your midterm goals, which is like a 3-year vision or a 5-year vision, up to you on how you want to frame that. And then you have your 12-week year goals, which is your 12-week vision. So I'm going to go through my vision for the first 3 months of 2026. So this is my longer term vision. It's kind of who I am at the core of my being. It's what I want to bring into this world. It's kind of the essence in which I move. And my goal in life is to have a community full of creatives where we make beautiful and moving art and work. We're fully in touch with ourselves and contribute to a greater cause as individuals with our individual talents. We encourage each other to grow and provide resources, education, and an environment for other people around us to flourish. We bring our visions into the life, and we change the world one vision at a time. We have that agency. We show people the importance of humility, communication, community, and empathy. This work makes the world more peaceful and loving and helps restore the human relationship to our environment. I'm able to travel when I want, where I want, and learn what I want to when I want, and create what I want. I'm surrounded by people that I love, and we grow together and encourage each other's growth. And that's just the life I want to live. Now remember, as you're creating this, nothing is too aspirational. Like, this is your aspirations, and if you can show yourself as you work towards your goals that it's actually possible. And the only way you can find out if it's possible or not is to put it down. Remember, this is just a vision, so it doesn't all have to feel realistic right now, because maybe it's not in this very moment, but building this out will help you get there, and you should be as specific as possible. With that being said, getting more specific requires you to kind of narrow down. So a narrower time frame of 3 years is a really helpful time frame to figure out what you want to create in the next 3 years that is aligned with your aspirational vision. And this is where you can get really granular and put in as much detail as possible, because this is a lot more specific. It's not as aspirational. This is real now. 3 years is, a tangible amount of time. So this is my 3-year vision. It's a little bit more specific, and it's that I get to travel and collaborate with really cool creatives that I admire all over the world. Distance is not a boundary for me. I've visited every single continent, and I get to see my grandma in China every year that she's still alive. My home is a beautiful creative sanctuary. I have a beautiful, supportive community with spaces for us to gather and happy, respectful, and loving relationships. I'm making art and work that moves people and music I'm proud of and I love playing. I'm running a business that provides opportunity to and enhances the lives of people I love and am aligned with. And I added this later, but I'm able to share my abundance and wealth with people around me. Create jobs and opportunities for people. I get to create and be in flow state and learn so much about myself through that and the universe and how everything is connected. I'm a platinum artist. I have a healthy relationship with my body, so I get to move my body the way I want. I get to dance the way I want. That makes me feel proud. I'm strong. And I'm a brown belt in BJJ. So once you're done with your 3-year plan, you want to move on to developing your 12-week plan. So for writing your goals, there's 5 criteria that you want to follow. You got to make it specific and measurable as possible. No more woo-woo shit. No more whatever you did in aspirations and 3 year. You got to be way more specific here, because this is where it's going to count. You want to state them positively, and you want to assure that they're a realistic stretch. So if you don't think you can actually get it done in 12 weeks, don't put it down. And that's where the stretch part comes. Put down what you think you can get done in 12 weeks, and then stretch it a little bit. But like, if you have never ran a 5K in your life and you want to run a marathon by the end of the 12 weeks, be fucking for real. Sorry. You also want to assign accountability. So whether that be with yourself, your friends, if you're working on projects with other people, make sure they know so that you can be accountable. Even in a way, like, make a video about it. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm putting my 12-week plan on the internet. So come for me if, I'm not reaching my goals by the end of the 3 months. And be time bound. So set deadlines for yourself. Do you want X task done by the end of which week? 3 weeks? 4 weeks? You tell me. But you got to be time bound. So this is where we establish our 12-week goals. So I'm going to write mine down really quick. So my 12-week goals, I have 3 of them right now, and they're very specific. I want to make $12,000. That's the amount of money I need to prove to myself that I can keep up my cost of living, and that there's actually some potential in my plan. I want to release my album. I've been saying for the past year that I'm going to release my album, and I've just been putting it back and back and back. Like, I need to learn how to mix and master. Like, I want to add this song. I want to add that song. No. At the end of this 3 months, I'm having a full album out. I don't care. And then I want to get to 1,000 subs on YouTube. Why? Because this is where I convey my message. This is the primary platform that I'm working on, that I enjoy doing, and it combines all the things I love. I can write, I can talk, I can speak, I can make videos, visual art, and then most importantly, I can put my music out on here. So that's why I've chose YouTube, and I want 1,000 subs because I want to make sure my vision's getting out there, I want to know if what I'm saying actually has some validity in it. Like, if people want to hear what I have to say, or if I need to pivot. And I think 3 months and 1,000 subs is a good metric for what I'm trying to get at. So yeah, I just wrote that down. This is my why. This is why I set each of my goals. Money, to make it sustainable and prove to myself that it is sustainable, so I don't have to go back to a 9-to-5. I want to share my music with the people I love and see if it can actually make an impact and establish myself as a real artist and have something tangible to show for my work. And I want to have an audience that I can build and get my message out to, and have some growth experience for building a community and finding like-minded people. And hopefully maybe this is an avenue I can find cool people to work with across the world and fulfill that goal of collaborating with people across the world, being able to have that platform. So now that I have my actual goals, my tangible goals that are measurable, and I have a number, this is binary, so I either release an album or not, and then this is a number too, so make sure it's tangible in some way, either binary or with a set number. For each of the goals, you're going to write your plan out. So you're going to break that goal into tactics that you can use and set a due date for that. So I'm going to do that really quick and show you what I mean. Alright, so I've written down my breakdown of my 12-week plan. So for the make $12,000 goal, what I need to do is I need to develop a product MVP. So that's going to be due on my week 2. And then I need to post videos tied to my offerings every week. I want to create a landing page so that people can, from my videos, find my products. And I want that at the same time that my product MVP, which is minimum viable product, is done, which is week 2. And then I want to land 3 high-ticket clients by week 6 and create a low-ticket MVP by week 4. So I want to have a couple different tier levels, and be able to like have resources that I can build on and perfect along the way. And I just need a minimum viable product, which is like a prototype pretty much, if you're not familiar with that world. And then for my goal of releasing an album, this is where I'm at right now. So I don't know how to mix. I've learned how to produce, and I have like 10, 20 songs to work with right now, and I need to like refine them and finalize them. So I want to learn and at least get a basic level of understanding of mixing down by week 6 so I can mix the songs that I have. I need to finalize my album concept by week 2. That means choosing what story I'm going to tell and which songs help me tell that story that I've either already made or plan to make. I need to do 3 deep work sessions every week, which means I just sit on my DAW, which I use Logic, and I just create and work on things. So those are like at least 2 to 3 hour sessions, and then have 1 collab session every week. I've been doing this. I just like jam out with my band and other people at my art studio, and this helps me get into that like flow state and kind of come up with ideas for songs. And I've been recording those. I actually have on another channel if you're interested. It's in my bio. And then I want to practice guitar / play an instrument every day for at least 10 minutes. And this helps me become inspired and just become a better musician, because the more knowledgeable I am about music and music theory and figuring out different chord changes and breaking down other people's songs, I can create my own songs better. So that's kind of my thought process behind that. And then my final goal is to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to live stream beat making. And I'm going to start doing this on week 8 and do that for every week after that. I think I have too much going on before that to do it any earlier. I'm going to post 1 video a week, every week, post 1 short a day, every day. And then I'm going to watch an educational video or read something about YouTube growth once a week, at least, so I can kind of refine my process as I go along. So that's how you break up your larger goals into smaller actionable steps that you can take on a repeated basis. Or if it's one step that isn't really repeated, when along the timeline that your goal is to have that out. And here's the thing about this is like, you don't have to follow it to a T, but setting the goal at least holds something accountable. Like, you don't have to be perfect on your first execution, but having this written down helps you know that you need to at least try to get it out and apply the things and hold yourself to the best standard that you can. So something, as you're setting your goals, to be aware of is what you're going to struggle with, because that's where you're going to need the most assistance. And if you know what you're going to struggle with the most, you can kind of set up systems ahead of time to help you through that struggle. So for me, prioritizing is something I struggle with. I tend to say yes to too much, and I really need to set my boundaries. Figuring out what the product MVP is. I need to figure out what offering I want to offer, whether that be a consulting service or a book. I also need to figure out how to get clients and close. That's something I'm just not sure yet of how to do. I've never done anything like that. When I was doing consulting back in the day, we had our clients handed to us because we already had relationships with the client. So I have a general idea of how to do it, but I've never actually done it before. So that's something I might struggle with. I'm not sure. Hopefully not. But, I need to be aware of where I lack experience. And that's just something I don't have experience in yet. I also wrote down, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done any of this before, so just the confidence of the first time is going to be difficult. So that's what I think I might struggle with the most. So being aware of that will help me be more compassionate towards myself and find ways to combat them as I go. Yeah. So like I said, I gotta know what skills I don't have, so I need to work on, and that's to do with educating myself. The more I know exactly what I need education in, the more useful the education is that I can get. And I'm a person that I like to read books a lot, and sometimes I focus so much on being secure in the step I'm going to take before I actually take it that I don't take action. So my issue is not really educating myself. I know how to do that really well. My issue is knowing exactly what the most useful thing is to educate myself in this very moment, because I just like learning. So I need to figure out how to pull the levers of my curiosity to help me according to this action plan the best. And then I also need to soothe my nervous system. I have systems in my life that help me with that. Every time I'm frustrated, I go to jiu-jitsu and take it out on my sparring partners. I also go to the gym, I go on walks, I stretch, do yoga. When I feel frustrated, I have really healthy mechanisms in my life set up to combat that so I don't take it out on the wrong part of my life. And so I can, start back up again as fast as possible. So that's something that I think really helps everybody in general to soothe your nervous system, but especially as a creative, especially as somebody who is venturing into the unknown, knowing how to soothe your nervous system is so important. I did not spell that right. Oopsies. And then to just have a mindset of I'm doing this for the first time, so I'm going to try different things. And I know, not every swing I take is going to hit, but I'm trying my best. And this is a learning process. So I don't expect perfection out of myself. And I know how to be compassionate towards myself when those things come up. So in the book, they talk about weekly accountability meetings. And this is just, if you're working with a team, this is really helpful. And if you're not working with a team, having these check-ins with yourself every week is how this is going to look. And that's how it's going to look for me. So I'm going to, at the end of every week, this is at the beginning of every Monday or the end of every Sunday, I'm going to have an individual report out. So I'm going to look at the metrics that I'm tracking and assess my goals and how well I'm executing them. This includes my results for the 12-week year to date, my weekly execution score. So I'm going to rate myself on a scale of 1 to 10 every week, give myself a score, and try to be as real with myself as possible. If I have a week that is bad, just to be honest with myself and tell myself this was a bad week, this is why it was a bad week, and this is how I can work next week to make it a better week. And vice versa. If I had a really good week, I can acknowledge that and see what parts or what aspects of that week made it a good week and try to nurture those aspects in the following week. And then set my intentions for the next coming week. So maybe I had a really good week and I'm like, okay, this is what really worked, but I'm lacking in this and I need to, focus on that area that I need a little bit more work in. I'm going to set my intention to work on that specific aspect this next week. And then give myself feedback and suggestions. If you're working with a group, it's from your group. If it's not, it's based off of how you're educating yourself. And then, like I was saying before, you want to define your successful techniques. See what worked for you and how to incorporate what worked for you into the next week's plan. And encourage yourself, whether this be reading affirmations, giving yourself affirmations at the end of every check-in. And honestly, it doesn't need to be that long. It can be a 15-minute check-in every week. Just give yourself a little bit of encouragement. So yeah, part of the routine is scoring your week, planning your week, and then participating in that weekly action meeting or accountability meeting like I was talking about. And that's it. You just do this every week for the next 12 weeks. You figure out, by breaking it down on a granular level, you're able to figure out exactly what it is that you need to work on. And go get 'em, Tiger. Let me know if leave a comment if this is something you're going to be working on too, and maybe we can keep each other accountable. I don't exactly know how yet, but maybe I'll create a community. I'm not sure. We'll see how this momentum picks up on this video. But either way, I'm posting this so I can keep myself accountable. Guys, keep me accountable. I'll keep you accountable. If you want to be kept accountable, leave a comment and I'll keep you accountable. All right. Anyway, I hope this works out for you. We'll check back in at the end of 12 weeks and see how that goes. And I'll probably go over the things that I learned from this process and see how I can refine it and make it better. But until then, ciao.